Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership from the Heart series, co-hosted together by myself, Renee Funk, and my dear friend, Elizabeth Riley. Thank you for joining us today.
We are so humbled and so grateful to have our guest on with us today. To tell you a little bit about him, with over 45 books, Stefan Swanepoel is widely recognized as the leading visionary on real estate trends. His books have been featured on 18 bestseller lists, including the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and USA. We are so grateful to have you here, Stefan Swanepoel. How are you?
Elizabeth, Renee, I am always good. I am fantastic. Every day is a great day. Thank you very much for the invite, and it's me who's humbled to be with you two beautiful ladies today. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. We know your time is limited, and we know you have so much to share. So we're just going to dive in, if that's okay with you.
Sure. Go ahead. Whatever you want to ask. I'm open book.
Awesome.
Okay, Stefan, going right for it. What do brokerages today need to do to stay relevant and competitive in the future of a post-COVID-19 world?
Wow, a long question there. Guys, agents, if you are a good service provider, if you are a good professional, if you are a trustworthy, ethical, hardworking, committed person, why are you worried about relevancy? You will always be relevant, right? COVID's not going to change your relevancy. COVID is going to make life a little tricky, and we have to wear masks. Maybe I should go get my mask quickly. I mean, maybe masks, maybe lines, maybe social distance, maybe 6 feet, and maybe we have some family ones which are ill and we have to stay at home. So it creates a few hurdles, but it doesn't change our relevancy. So pre-COVID, post-COVID, beyond Corona, BC, beyond Corona, right? Realtors will still be important. We might have to adapt a little bit here or there due to circumstances, the same way that we adapted in a post-Katrina world or a post-9/11 world, right? But we as realtors, we as real estate professionals are some of the most versatile, entrepreneurial, driven, committed people I have ever found in this world. So relevancy, not to worry. People will still buy and sell houses. Yes, they might use technology a little more. Yes, they may do a few things more. Nothing you can't handle in your stride.
That's so important. Can we ask you, what are your thoughts on the indies? I mean, 86% of real estate firms that are non-franchise in the US are independents. What are your thoughts around the independent landscape?
Ooh, that 86% number, which always pops up from an NAR report, doesn't it? Somewhere
2019,
there.
Stefan, 2019.
Yes. So it's of course a valid statistic, but I'd love to put that statistic for your listeners today in a little bit of context. 86% or around about that number when it is used refers to the number of businesses, the number of companies, the number of entities. It is not reflected of the number of businesses that have agents working with them of a big quantity. It does not reflect the number of transactions done by those big quantities. It does not reflect to the sales volume of the market. So the relatively small group of big companies, and we put together every year, whether you call it the mega 1,000 or the top 1,000 companies, but we put together that list of the big, right? And those guys comfortably do more than half of the industry's business. So we have a small group, let's call it 1,000 companies, that does, let's call it half of the business. It's a little more than that, but let's just roughly call it half. And then you have a very large number of, call it 86,000 companies that are relatively small, and they're the one shop, two shop, one man, two man, husband, wife kind of combinations. These two groups are not one group more important than another. They're both super important. They're just different. The one is the convenience store in the corner, and the one is Walmart, right? That's the difference. The one has scale, the one has volume, but the one has also challenges, which comes with volume and structure. The small person doesn't have volume, but has the benefit of personal services and knowing the market very well. So both those companies still have to be better, different, more sophisticated, use technology better and more widely than in the past. But I don't think that they're going to go out of business at all.
Well, I have to apologize because I've been so excited to sit with you today and got a little ahead of myself. And for some reason, I have this question I've been wanting to ask you, and your bio cut down to my question. So one of the things that, about you as the rest of your bio is you're the chairman and CEO of T360, right? You're the host of the T3 Summit, and you're the editor of the chief of the SP200, which is such a powerful list. Your resume shows that you have over 1,400 talks to more than 1 million people. But I have to tell you, in my world, I've always referred to you as the real estate royalty, right? And I just think you are the trends expert. And so one of the things is I talked about the other day is life-changing decisions. And I want to show you this. This right here was a life-changing book for me. And it was because of what you wrote in here. You wrote about the real estate offices of the future. And you wrote about the different models. And what I love about you is you're broker blind. You tell it as it is. You're not favoring one over another because they're all so very, very different, right? So tell us, is there ever a future Stefan Swanepoel real estate firm in the future? And what would that look like if it were?
Stefan has been CEO of 9 companies, which, if I remember correctly, actually includes 3 brokerage companies, a global franchise, as well as I was CEO of an MLS and an association. And I've also been a CEO of a bank, and I've also been a CEO of a movie company, but let's not talk about that one. So I have actually run a real estate company before 3 times and on 2 different continents, including a national one. I feel as if I am part of the industry. It's in my very, very fiber. It is exactly who I am. I could never, ever be anything else. I could not retire and become a golfer. It's just not who I am. So it is who I am. I love brokerage. I love brokers. I love agents, but I don't want to be one.
Right.
I don't want to be one. I have a very mathematical, systematical, logical, objective kind of a mind. I am inquisitive by nature. I love research. I love analysis. So although I have run a brokerage company and I did it for many years, both in the United States and abroad, and I enjoyed the times which I was with them, but I really enjoyed the people more than I actually enjoyed being the broker kind of part of it, right? I didn't like managing 1,000 agents, right? There's always one getting married. There's always one that has a problem. There's always one that wants to go somewhere. There's always one having a sell. There's always one that's not having a sell. There's always one that has a kid that has to do something. So I didn't like all those distractions. I liked figuring out how I could help the people be better, how I could research and figure and be better myself. So I 20 years ago sort of took my life experiences, including the MLS and the association, the franchise business and the brokerage business, and brought it down to my passion, which is writing and researching and understanding. I don't like to not understand anything. And in my world, there's nothing I don't understand, because if I don't understand it, it will go on my list to be understood. And I will go spend time. And if I say time, I will mean weeks or years, but I will get to the bottom of this thing, right? So for me, something has to fit together. So I am doing today what I love. I could not and would not change it. T3 is I have partners, of course. I have wonderful team members, which I love dearly, and we've built the company up. And today I'm one of many. But I started the company because I wanted it. So it was a deliberate. I did not start it because I lost the job. I started because I wanted the ability to guide my own future. Like an independent contractor, like you two ladies, you have a significant influence over your own career and your own path and your own upward mobility and what you do and how you contribute. Me too. Just like you. And I love that part. So will there ever be a Swanepoel real estate firm? No, guaranteed, 100% no. I have no involvement. I probably are invited to serve on boards of directors, I don't know, 20 times a year, which I've been asked. And I have declined, not because I don't like the people that ask me, but because I feel that as T3 needs to keep its, you said broker blind is the first time I've ever heard that, and I love that term. We've always said objective, neutral, fair. We don't want to have a horse in the race. And we want to look at the facts and the stats and the trends which we share with everybody without any hidden motive. We're not trying to benefit anybody, and we're not the news. The news is what happened today. Trends is what happens tomorrow. So we're trying to figure out what is the most likely path. Now, as I like to say in some of my talks, I'm not the Dalai Lama. I'm not Jesus. I can't predict the future. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But if you do a lot of your homework, if you know your market, if you look at the stats, if you are fair objective, you start seeing patterns. If you pour water on the ground or on a table, it will flow in a certain direction. It flows to where the lowest point is, right? If you light a fire, it will burn and it will move towards where the dry wood is. So many things in life follow some logical pattern. And I believe if you look at whether it's Keller, EXP, Redfin, Compass, Realty, if you look at them thoroughly, objectively, and in depth, and you analyze not just what happened, but why did it happen? Where did it come from? What was the driver? What was the momentum? What was the engine? What is the logic? What is the team? What is the management? Do they have finances? Do they have scale? If you look at all of those things objectively and you start putting them like chess pieces, one for one on a chessboard, you will start noticing, aha, there's something happening over here. There's something happening over here. And you can follow that pattern by making fairly accurate predictions. If you look at our trends report, you held up one of them there. I'm not sure. I think that's about 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I'm not sure. If you look at 2014, so 5, 6 years ago, 5, 6, we've done 15 of those. And if you go back to the first ones, or even the one you have, our predictions, and I don't like calling them predictions, but if you look at the kind of predictions which we sort of, we're between 95 to 100% accurate. Not because we know the future. The only thing we tend to get wrong is when it's going to happen. We can see it's going to happen. We can see that a certain shift or growth or change is going to happen, but sometimes the consumer makes it happen slower or faster. So sometimes you say, well, I knew we were going to have online shopping, but I didn't realize Amazon was going to grow that big. We knew we were going to have mobile phones, but we didn't know it was going to take 20 years before it became common practice. We all have been using Zoom for many years, but we didn't know it was going to be April of 2020 that everybody was going to use it, right? So there are sometimes triggers that make a trend which was already there expedite or happen slower. So the trends report is my passion. It's my baby every year. I give birth, if I may say, I give birth every year to this new baby. And before the time, we honestly don't know what we're going to write about. Our trends reports are not an update on last year's report. We honestly, every year in August start with a clean sheet of paper. And that first month, when we don't even know what to put on a piece of paper, is the worst time ever. And the first draft of whatever we write is the worst material you'll see in your life. It sucks. We have no idea. We then do all of our homework and research, and we start putting the straw man together, and then an outline, then a table of content, then we add meat, then we rip it apart, then we assemble it back together, then we do research, then we call people, then we do surveys, then we do analysis, then we put it together, and then we like it, then we rewrite it. The average trends report probably takes about 12 rewrites. And each rewrite is somewhere between 3 to 6 hours each. Wow. So we write, by the time you get a chapter, that baby's gone through 40 to 60 hours of pounding and hitting and writing, because it's not getting it right, it's getting that we believe it's plausible, feasible, as accurate as we can get it with the information currently available. Is it right? Well, only the future will give me grades on that. I can't grade myself.
Well, and that's interesting you say that. I'm sorry, Renee. It's interesting you say that. And I really love your answer that no, you're not going to have a real estate firm, because your passion shows, your excitement and your energy shows. And Renee and I talk about that. When people are passionate about something, they are going to go above and beyond to make sure that that passion cascades out to others, if you will, right? And you're talking about, do I know the future? No, I don't. However, this book right here, it was fascinating to me to look back, and I look at this all the time, that what I read from 2014, your trends report that you just explained how that came to be, you talked about all the different models in a very unbiased way, right? Which lends to your credibility anyway, and what you guys are doing. But you talked about the different models and the different Remax and KW and Starbucks and franchise and Amazon.com, and that's where you brought like the EXP virtual model in. And now I look back at it and I was like, wow, it's almost like you do have a crystal ball because of how fascinating and accurate this is. So it just speaks to just your gift that you have. And so I'm glad that you're going to continue down that path instead of, pigeonholing yourself in a firm where you're just impacting few. I like that you impact many.
Thank you. Yeah, the report every year, as I said, August, I honestly do not know at that stage what the chapters or the trends are going to be. And neither have I got any idea what's going to be number 1 or 2. It's as we write it, and we usually write about 14 or 15 trends, and then the bottom 4 get killed and shot off, right? They're like in a good storyline, like Breaking Bad, they get killed off, right? So the trends which you feel don't have enough momentum yet. So we'll look at many years. We've been looking at things like blockchain and artificial intelligence for many years, but you get at a stage where you say, yes, it's there, but it's not there. It's early stages. I can see it, I can hear it, but it's not actually practical yet. It's not actually applicable yet. It's not mainstream yet. So it's sometimes hard. When do you write about something the first time? You mentioned EXP and the virtual stuff. I remember that one year which we did that. It was, even at that stage, I remember talking to Glenn. I met Glenn, 10 years ago, something like that. And I think when I met him, I think he told me that they had four agents. So at a stage like that, when somebody says to you, I'm going to change the world, well, thousands of people say that.
Yes.
Thousands of people say that, but Glenn did.
Yes.
Gary Keller did. Dave Liniger did. But there were thousands others that said the same thing. Now, you shouldn't disencourage somebody who says that, but you also know that when you say to a kid, you can become president of the United States, it's possible, but it's unlikely, right? Because it's only one out of I don't know how many millions that do become that. You could become a millionaire. Yes, you could, but it's going to take lots of commitment and drive and hard work. So when somebody says, oh, I'm going to change the industry because I've got an idea. Well, getting an idea is just one part. It's just a start. There is so much more, not only the heavy lifting, but the building of a team and a concept and nurturing and loving and growing and caring and doing all the right things. And you will do many wrong things in between, many wrong things. But the things that you do wrong must be small, and you must be able to recover quickly. And you must be able to leverage the right decisions, and you must be able to make sure that the majority of team members which you bring on are the right ones at the right time for the right job. And that in its own is hard. Building a team is also very tricky. So when people say they're going to change the world, it is hard for me sometimes to determine, not if you're serious, because of course you're serious, but do you have the other abilities and skills as well to give you a high probability that what you think you would like to do is actually going to happen? And then, of course, when it happens 3, 5, 6, 10 years later, what a delight. What an absolute delight.
Stefan, you just pointed out something that is worth repeating, and that is you talked about your passion for the work that you do, the passion for what we feel on the outside looking in is you're pouring into the foundation of the real estate industry as a whole. Like as Elizabeth mentioned, it is broker blind. That is how you have become so influential and made such a positive impact and effect on the industry because you are pouring into that foundation over and over and over again. And by doing so, you obviously work together with the thought leaders of this industry, period, right? I mean, you have worked together with and side by side with the industry best. One of your T360's keynote speeches, you shared something that really touched a chord with us, and that was that you feel the leaders of today have a responsibility to guide and shape the leaders of tomorrow. And we would love for you to talk with us about what lessons do you think we should share with the leaders of tomorrow?
That's a fatherly question. Yes, and I appreciate it. I do feel that way. I think that any person in power, any person in authority, any person that walks the path before another has the inherent obligation to the man upstairs, to the partner or spouse that sits next to you, to the child or the employee or the team member that follows you, believes you, to help and to guide them. Life is hard, but life is not hard. Life is hard when you don't know what you're doing, if life deals you difficult blows, if you stumble and you fall and nobody helps. Life can be devastating. I mean, you can get a curveball, as we all know. We've probably, many of us have lost a parent. I've lost both parents, sometimes unexpectedly to illnesses. Sometimes, COVID can create maybe a circumstance which is difficult. You lose maybe work. Maybe your house is under financial stress. So there are many things that can impact you. At the same time, there is a solution for just about everything, And at the same time, there's probably dozens, if not hundreds of people that you know or are near you that have actually gone through something fairly similar that can not necessarily give you the solution, because every solution needs to be tweaked a little bit because of personal circumstances and whether you're a man or a woman or a child, or even which race you are, which country you are, which work you are, which life station, generation X, Y. Every solution needs a little bit of a local. It's almost like saying real estate is global, but real estate is local. It's that conflict, right? It is global, but there are local nuances. Solutions is the same. Marriages go through the same problems. Financial companies go through the same cash flow problems. Losing a job has the same kind of negative impact on many people, but it impacts everyone differently. But then there are solutions to that. And that's what a good coach, that's what a good leader, that's what a good neighbor does. That person says, I have had an opportunity to see this firsthand. I've gone through it. I know somebody who has. I've read about it. This is what I do. And you then don't dictate to another person, oh, you're stupid, I'm going to tell you how to fix that thing. You don't do that. You step up and say, let me stand shoulder to shoulder next to you, and let me tell you the time when I went through something which was like this, and this is how I dealt with it, and this part worked and this part didn't work. So at the T3 organization, we believe that we are the lighthouse. We are the bedrock of the industry. If you want to build a great industry, you need a solid foundation. And the foundation mustn't waver. The foundation can't lie. The foundation can't move. The foundation shouldn't benefit one room or one building above another building. So T3's goal is to try and be the most, I'm not even sure this is a word I wanted to say, the fairest, most objective, the most neutralist. These are words which I'm just making up as I on the fly. That's how spontaneous call is. But we want to get. I don't want to say I don't care who wins the race, but if you understand it in the nicest possible way, we don't care which brokerage company is the biggest.
But Stefan, what you're really saying though is it's the industry who's being uplifted, which is how the industry will serve the consumer at a higher level. So that is winning the race.
Yes, I want the industry to win.
Right.
But I don't really care whether Realty or EXP or Keller wins, because I think whether you're ranked number 1 or number 5 or number 500, that's all still great. It's cool to be number 1, but no, we're not all Mark Phelps with 14 gold swimming medals around our neck. That doesn't make us less inferior. It makes him appropriately the best swimmer at a certain time when we took the opportunity to measure time. Should he be awarded for that and should he be praised? Sure, he's a great man. Should that affect my life or destroy my life? Hell no. I'm still great too, right? So despite of the fact that somebody else is winning or has won or could win, I can win too. Our industry is not a zero-sum game. It doesn't matter how much Realty or Keller or Remax or EXP or Redfin or Berkshire Hathaway sells or not sells. There are many other companies that do fantastic quality work for their consumers. Now, what T3 would like to do is to try and take best practices, best ideas, information which we can gather from each other and say, here is information which I can help you to maybe save you from bumping your toe against the rock a second time or a third time when it's really not necessary. I don't have to beat you because you bumped your toe. Walk around the rock and let's play fairly and I can still beat you, right? So being competitive is cool. I have no problem being competitive. Competitive is awesome, right? So I only know one way, and that's to play to win. But I don't have to hurt you or kill you or berate you or be negative against you to do that.
Amen to that. Absolutely.
That's totally BS. Sorry.
So, well, you're talking about lifting up the industry, absolutely. And you are connected with some very powerful leaders in that space. I'm curious, on your SP200, that's your powerhouse list, right, of key thought leaders that have done and continue to do great things in the industry. I'm just curious, what's the methodology and your process in creating that list each year? Because these are your top 200.
So I will answer the question for you in a second. I'm going to frame it by saying the SP200 is only chapter 1 of what we call the Real Estate Almanac. Yes, it does rank the 200 most powerful, significant, influential leaders across all levels, male, female, association, brokers, MLSs, holding companies, anything in the industry. And I will talk about that in a second. But just that you do know, there is a section 2, 3, 4, and 5. Section 2 is the top associations and MLSs in the industry. Section 3 is the top 500 technology companies in the industry. Section 4 are the top holding companies, public companies, franchise companies, and networks in the industry. And Section 5 is the top 1,000 brokerage companies in the industry. So we have at the moment a total of 28 lists in a total of 5 different broad categories. And that is about 500 pages. And that's what we are publishing next month, right? Is the combination of all of that into one monster compendium book. Now, what we get back to SP200, the SP200 acknowledges every year the most influential and powerful people. Now, it's a controversial list because one would say, who gives you the right to judge? We're not judging. We do know, there's not one person on that list that I don't know personally. This is not just, well, let's quickly vote for them around the table, or let's see if we like them, or did I read about them on the news? This is during a course of a year, interacting with everybody on that list, some of those people a dozen times, having all of their bios on file. They've given me their bios. Half of them give me updated bios every single year. We have just of those people, I think we have something like about 900 bios on file of the top 1,000 influential people in the industry. And then we probably have 2,000 high resolution photos of all these people, right? So these are my people, right? I mean, I love them dearly. I interact with them. I'm passionate about them. I know half of their birthdays, their spouses' names. So it's not just we're putting them on a list. We're putting them on a list to help the people in the industry, or coming into the industry, or working with the industry, or maybe even you interviewing the industry that might not know everybody at the same level I do, is to try and say, let me give you some kind of an indication of order of people, not just high profiling flying people, but behind the scenes people as well. So we try and look at any C-level, CEO, COO, CFO, CTO, CIO, doesn't matter. Anybody who we think actually has power in his own organization on a very, very high level, as well as outside. So we have 3 big levels which we go through. We firstly see, are you with a meaningful, substantial company? Because if you're the power of one and you're with one small company in one small town in one small state, you're still cool, but you don't have the same impact as, I don't know, Gary Keller. I mean, right. Gary Keller, whether we like him or dislike him, that's not the point. I can't have a like or dislike here. It is simply an enormous company with an enormous founder who's still in charge, who is liked by his people, generally speaking, who has a great vision, who's proud about it, and who executes. Well, those are all good characteristics to have, right? So you have to acknowledge all of that combination together. So we look at size of company. Then we look at what your bio is. We look at 9 aspects of your bio. How long have you been in the job? Which job do you actually have in the company? How many people above you in the food chain? How many people below you in the food chain? How many people to the side of your food chain? How big is your budget? What did you do between last year and this year that actually is considered significant because you thought it changed it? What did you do outside your company? And what did you do for the industry? So we try and look wider than just, oh, he's the CEO or she's the CEO of that. We make no distinction between race or group or brand or sex or area or immigrant. We're just looking at our industry. Now, our industry at the highest level is unfortunately dominated male. There is about 40 to 50, maybe so very powerful women in the industry at the highest level, but probably about 140, 150 are actually men. There are very few African Americans, there are very few Asian, there are very few Hispanic. It's not that we don't like them, because the SP200, we try to say this is just a mirror. It's just a mirror to the industry. And many individuals would say, but look at me, I'm cool. Yes, you are cool. But when compared to everybody in the space, there are some people which just have bigger budgets, bigger companies, bigger checkbooks. So it's not all about the money, but of course, money does help to create power. And it is certainly one of the aspects that we do take into consideration. Then we put them on that list and we try and compare them firstly within niches. So we compare all the franchise people, then all the broker people, then the association people, the MLS people, the technology people, then all the women, then all the young people under 40, then the people that have been in the industry a long time. So we do put them in buckets first to try and make sure that we have all the buckets represented as well as we possibly can. And then we do the incredibly hard task. We try and merge those buckets. And then when you say, well, how do you compare Brad Inman, who runs the biggest news empire in real estate, to right. Ryan Gorman that runs Coldwell Banker, but he didn't start it, to Gary Keller, who did, or Glenn Sanford, who did start EXP, to Art Carter, who runs the biggest MLS. How do you compare an MLS to a newspaper, to a founder, to somebody who runs a public company? And that is very hard. And I will tell you, it is the most fun I've ever had in the industry with my clothes on. I will also tell you, it is the hardest thing I've ever done in the industry. We get together at T3 and we have enormous fights. The staff gets together in my boardroom. We close the door. We literally lock the door for a whole 2 days. And if you say, well, I think Mr. So-and-so should be whatever number you want, number 10. And the first thing you're going to hear out of my mouth is why? And I'm going to give you only 20 seconds to justify to me why you think that this person should go up or down a slot. Now, I don't want you to rehash his bio. I already know his bio. I've known the guy for 20 years. Don't tell me he's the CEO of this company. I know that. Tell me what happened between last year and now that you think changed, that I should be aware of, that I might not be aware of. And if you're going to start saying things I already know, I'm going to cut you short, because I don't have time to listen to something I already know. Because we go through probably about 2,000 people, and we spend probably 5 to 10 debates on every individual.
Wow.
For 2 days. And I mean, we have heated arguments. Rob Hahn is the only outsider that we allowed into that room because he and I disagree on so many things. I brought him in specifically for that purpose. Because I would say to him, what do you think? And then I would say something, and we are 180 degrees apart. And then we would argue. But we argue from the point of view, we're trying to find out, why do you think it's red and why do I think it's blue? So we bring in association people, we bring in technology people, we bring in mergers and acquisition people, so that the people in the room are a combination of knowledge and experience from the industry. It's not a me list. But if you come into the room, you can never be considered for a candidate on the list, and you may not be working for a company at this point in time which has a CEO that is represented on the list. So let's say you ladies, you guys are involved with the XP, so I would not allow you in the room because Glenn Sanford is on the list. So I don't allow any Keller Williams people, no Realty people, nobody from Inman. If there's anybody that of your companies on that potential list, you are not permitted. So you have to be, let's say, like a Rob Hahn or like myself, as neutral as I can possibly find you. And that list takes 600-700 hours of thrusting back and forth. And I think that's why the list is appreciated, because the list is sincere. It is from the heart. You could say to me, well, I don't think number 32 should be 32. He should be 33. Yeah, you could say that, and I would not disagree with you. There's not a big difference between 1 or 2 slots, but you could not say to me somebody in the bottom quartile should be in the top quartile, or you think number 20 should be number 1. We're not making those kinds of mistakes. We could disagree with who should be 1 and 2. We every year have a huge debate. You know, should the head of NAR be number 1? Should the head of a technology company be number 1? Should it be a brokerage company? Should it be the biggest brokerage company? Should it be the biggest growing brokerage company? Should it be the brokerage company that got the most money? Should it be the one that got the most agent? Should it be the most controversial one? Should it be the one that made the most money? I mean, so we go through those logics, and I'm not sure there's a right answer, but we try to figure it out.
Stefan, you mentioned something again that stood out to me in that room, that the collaboration that's going on from a diverse subset. And also, this is key. We're on Leadership from the Heart here. So we're looking for those nuggets, especially when you're sharing all this awesome leadership style, is to surround yourself with others with diverse mindsets, but also sometimes with those who might disagree with you and could be passionate on 2 sides, because the beauty of that is what comes to fruition from those 2 sides working together. That's huge, Stefan. That's a great, great mindset.
I love people with different opinions. I love people that come with different baggage from different backgrounds, and they have therefore a different vantage point looking at something. What I don't like is difficult, stupid, or stubborn people. So there's no point in just getting somebody in the room who's just going to argue for the sake of arguing because they want to argue. I don't care for stupid people. I don't care for somebody who is just plainly stubborn and holding on to some mindset or paradigm because they believe in it. I don't mind you sharing it with me. I love hearing about it. But at the end of the day, if we agree that we are not trying to benefit one party or one group or one constituency, or male or female or African American or white, one above another, then may the best whatever win, right? Because it doesn't matter who wins. If we honestly, sincerely believe that the majority of us have heard enough logic and argument to place that person or that company or that entity or that business or that franchise or association at some ranking or place, then that's all that matters. The list isn't given as your ticket to a lottery or your ticket to go to heaven one day. It is a snapshot for you of somebody who spent thousands of hours trying to give you as much ammunition as you can use as coaches, as brokers, as motivators, as writers. And instead of Inman trying to just write an article based on a press release, maybe they would do good sometimes to also look at the list and go and verify whether the data which was in the press release is accurate. Because we know that people put out press releases with any kind of statement.
Right.
We're trying to become that Forrester, Gartner, J.D. Powers of real estate. Some kind of benchmark line in the sand.
Well, again, it's pouring into the foundation of the industry as a whole, which is so important. Stefan, I really curious here for our audience. There's been such an evolution of technology in the real estate industry, and certainly we're seeing now more than ever the adoption of technology from both the industry internally as well as our consumers. We've talked a lot, Elizabeth and I, and on the Leadership for the Heart series with our guests. What does that technology look like in the real estate industry moving forward? And is there a time when the real estate agent isn't a part of that equation?
Ooh, a double question there. Cool. Let's start with the easy one first.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we're putting you in the hot seat, Stefan.
Let's start with the second question first, because it's the easiest one. No, the realtor will not be disintermediated, and no, the realtor will not part of the transaction. So now I'll go to the first part, which is a little bit more complex. Yes, technology is critically important. Yes, technology does shift and change. Yes, technology is a wonderful, wonderful, delightfully confusing, frustrating tool that we all could use, should use, and must use every single day to make our lives better and to do a better quality service at a higher level to more people more regularly with social distancing all taken into consideration. Great. It is still just simply a tool. You still need people. You still need passion, you still need energy, you still need knowledge, you still need relationships, you still need contact. So all we must do as realtors is we must use the tools that become available to us, whether that is our lockbox or whether that is the Zoom meeting of today. It doesn't matter. It is simply just another arrow in your quiver that you can use. Now, I am not a technologist. I love technology and I use it very extensively, and I'd like to think that I'm not a stupid CEO that doesn't get technology. But I'm no CTO. I'm not one of those propeller heads that really, really, really sleeps and dreams technology. But so what I did is I went and hired some of those. I truly believe between Jack Miller and Travis Saxton and the former CTO of NAR, Mark Leswing and Jonathan Peterson, I have hired some of the people that are as passionate about technology as I am about our industry. They are about technology. So I asked them this very question that you asked me maybe about a year ago. And I said to them, what technology is cool? Which are the great ones? Which one should we use? And they said, well, we'll have to make a list. I said, go ahead, go make a list, right? They came back and they said, there's roughly about 2,000 different technology providers, software or apps in the real estate industry that you could pick from. I said, holy smokes, this is too much. I can't comprehend 2,000 options. Could you put them for me in some kind of like buckets or categories? So they went back and they created what we call the technology landscape, which is 63 buckets. The beginning of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, the sales funnel, the management funnel, the back office, the front office. They created all these categories of functionalities. Then they took this 2,000 and they reverse engineered them into all the buckets. So now there's like 30 or 40 or 50 companies and products in each bucket. I said, great, but that's still a lot. Could you now actually tell me who are the best 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, I don't care the number, who's the best 10% or the best 20% in each bucket? So they spent another 6 months figuring that out. And they came back with a list of about 500 and said, here is the 500 best ones, which are about 5 to 6 to 7 in each of the 63 buckets. There's, a little bit of overlap, but there's about 280 unique companies. And then there's maybe about 200 that are in more than one bucket because they do more than one software. We just released that whole compendium and research last month, free and gratis. All of that research, you can have your people go to realestatealmanac.com and go to section 3, which is the technology section. They can go download, I don't know what it is, I think it's a 30 or a 40-page PDF, completely free, no strings attached, with all of that work already done. What we are now going to do for next year is we are now going to start see if it's possible to grade them and put them in either a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or now that they're in the buckets and they're there, can we give them a 5-star, 4-star, 3-star? Can we give them 2 thumbs up, 1 thumbs up? Do we come up with some algorithm which measures how suitable, how appropriate they are? And then we want to do next is find out which ones actually work with each other, which ones talk to each other. So if you're using this software, could you use this software when you use this product, because this company and this franchise is using this one, but they don't talk to each other?
Yeah.
So the answer is actually there. Agents don't need to understand and become propeller heads. I'm not one. I don't have an engineering degree in technology. I can't write code. But if you get the research, go download that document I referred to, print it out, put a staple through it, put it on your table. And when somebody talks again about any company or any product or any functionality, flip through it and go see who the top 3, 4, 5, 6 vendors are. They're alphabetical order in each section. And then reach out to all of them and say, sir, I'd like you to come and do me a demonstration because I'm interested in this functionality. I want to know how it works. And have 2 or 3 of them come and show you their product.
That is unbelievable. And Elizabeth, did you know that resource was available? I'm learning right now, right here.
Now you're learning why for my whole career in real estate for 15 years, I've called Stefan the real estate royalty. I mean, you're brilliant and you're so humble and you're so gracious. And I know you're so tight on time, but still you found time to meet with us. And that just, it's means the world. So thank you. This is good information.
Okay, this is the hot seat of all hot seats, Stefan. It's the real big one. Before we wrap, we would love to know, what does leading from the heart mean to you?
Leading from the heart. Buzzwords. Leading from the heart means integrity, honesty, logic, passion, love, focus, leading with a vision, and leading towards victory.
Awesome.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure.
You certainly know how to lead from the heart. You are a leader that we look up to and we respect so much. And we look forward to seeing all the greatness that comes out of T3 and your whole team. So thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for the invite, both of you, Renee and Elizabeth. It was delightful talking to you, delightful. We'd love to do it again one day for you at any time. Thank you what you do for your members. Sometimes when we do things remotely, we don't realize how we impact and who we impact, but I have no doubt that what you're doing is impacting somebody somewhere in the nation in a way that you don't even know yet. I wrote one book once, which was not about real estate, was Surviving Your Serengeti, and it was a more book about life. And I remember that even years after that book came out, I got letters and emails and Facebook posts from people I did not even know existed in a completely other world. And somebody had given them, like a link to your podcast, to your webinar, they had given somebody a Christmas gift or a book. Somebody got that book, and at a time of their life which was important, they read through it, and it had a profound impact, unbeknownst to me, until, of course, they reached out to you. And then you realized how important what you do is. So I want to say from my side, thank you for what you do. You're both special. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan.
We appreciate you. And please always reach out. If we can be of service to you and your organization in any way, we're always here. Thank you again.
Goodbye to everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.